Have you ever taken away your teenager's smartphone and had them go berserk, have them lose their minds more than it seemed reasonable? Or have you just been watching them and just see them pick up their phone impulsively, almost like robotically, even when they just put it down? Today, we're talking about why that's not just a habit and why that is a design feature. But if it's your first time here, welcome to Baffled. This podcast is meant to help you understand your misunderstood teen. My name is Jonathan, and I'm here with my co-host Jason, and we are going to be talking about the 4 harms, what our phones are actually doing to our teenagers. So what's going on, Jason? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Just keeping busy and loving life.
Yeah, man. Speaking of keeping busy, we just celebrated the 4th of July this past weekend, and we were off work on Friday. So I had the chance to take my son to go watch Toy Story 5. And
Mm.
without spoiling much of the movie,
Yeah,
I
don't do
know the
that.
trailers seem to give the impression that tech is bad and toys are good. But what I really love about the movie is that it's not just trying to give this idea that tech is bad. It also highlights this idea how not just it's bad for children, but it's also bad for parents, because what we see, what ends up happening to Bonnie in the movie is a direct impact of how even these devices are taking hold of our lives, and in effects causes us to not do our due diligence when it comes to parenting our young children. So in the movie, you know, we see from the trailers, we see all the things we're going to talk about today is kind of seen in the movie as well. So I don't want to spoil it, but I do want to kind of preface it into like it's becoming that this issue is becoming mainstream. Well, Jason, can you just, before we get into these 4 specific harms, being like the expert in the youth development field, what are you seeing, whether it's at church, whether it's at school, whether it's at home with your kids? What harmful things do you see when it comes to teenagers?
Yeah, well, one of the points we are going to cover today is addiction. And if you don't think that cell phone addiction is a real thing, you have to think twice, because young people are addicted to these phones. They are on them constantly. In fact, studies have shown that 1/3 of students are constantly on their phone, meaning they don't stop, they don't take a break. And when you are on that phone, chemicals are released, oxytocin and that dopamine hit, and they will bond with that phone. And then, you kind of see where that leads. And so we'll talk more about that. But yeah, that's mainly what I'm seeing is they have their phone. It's so hard for them to put it away. Even when I'm doing these summer camps, the leader's like, put your phones away. And like, they just can't break away from them. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And just to preface this as well, if you're listening, this is our second episode on a 6-part series where we're going to be kind of referencing a lot of the book written by Jonathan Haidt called The Anxious Generation. And today we're only going to be talking about smartphones and what these devices that have beneficial uses to them. We all use them. We use them as an alarm clock, a GPS, and all that stuff.
Everything.
They've brought tremendous blessing into our lives, but at the same time, it's like a gift, but it's also a curse. So we have been cursed with this as well. So one of the things right away that Jonathan Haidt talks about in his book is social deprivation, this
Hmm.
idea of quality versus quantity. And in Toy Story, what ends up happening is that Bonnie is growing up. She's going into these formative years. She's about 9 years old, but she is still playing with toys.
Yeah.
And she has this wild imagination, but she is unable to connect with some of the other kids in her neighborhood. And what ends up happening is that her parents, in a moment of, they mean well, they want her daughter to have friends, they get her a tablet. So this is not spoiling the movie. We see this in the trailers. They get her a tablet, and the purpose for the tablet is because all her friends at school have a tablet. All her
Yeah.
friends have devices, and this is
Hmm.
the means of which they are connecting every day now. They're not connecting in the real world. And what Haidt talks
Hmm.
about is that he distinguishes between an embodied real world connection, which is synchronous, physical, small groups, whether it's sports, play, school, from a disembodied digital connection, which is asynchronous. This is text based, one to many. And what we're seeing is this idea of we're now measuring our self worth by how many followers we have on TikTok or how many followers we have on X or Instagram. But yet, teens can have 1,000 followers but still feel profoundly alone. So, what does genuine connection look like and how can we protect it? So, Jason, I know you kind of talk about this even when we talk about bullying or healthy relationships. What how would you go about this idea of both the digital world and the physical world and how we are just wired for connection?
Yeah, we definitely are wired for connection. Like you said, we are built for relationships. We're not meant to be alone. And so, unfortunately, with these phones, these devices, that has hindered that. It kind of started with the pandemic where we're all quarantined, we can't be around each other. All we had was a means of being on our phones to connect with one another. But even now that we're allowed to be together, young people rather do it through phones, texting and social media and just FaceTime or whatever it is, and they're not really spending time in person a lot, and they're just that's the world they're growing up with, and I don't think it's healthy. It's not healthy to just isolate yourself. I mean, yes, you are connecting, but at the same time, you're not. There's no physical being in each other's presence. There's something about being together, hanging out, eating together, whatever it is. There's just something special about that. But if we keep everything out at a distance, we're just lacking that, and it's just really going to make it difficult for the as they get older to connect in the real world, as they go to college and into the workforce, etc. So I just don't see it being a good thing.
Yeah, and how do the parents kind of play a role in this? Because um, from my perspective, and even I'm going to be referencing Toy Story a lot, is we can sit here and blame children. We can sit here and blame young people for being addicted, but what about us? Like we can
Hmm.
actually set limits and all of that. And what ends up happening, and I know we kind of discussed this in the previous episode, and then I even talked about like the IQ is being diminished and how we are actually handicapping our kids by giving them devices too early rather than forcing I want to say forcing, but fostering environments where children can have this play-based childhood where they can learn to interact with one another, where they can learn to share, where they can learn to play, where they can learn things like empathy and conflict resolution and emotional attunement, like this emotional IQ. Because when you're interacting with people across a screen, whether it's video games or social media, the person is not there. So we become keyboard warriors. We're
Yeah.
just typing and this
Hmm.
is where it goes into cyberbullying because we don't understand that words hurt. We're just typing words and we're not seeing how those words land. We're not seeing how the joke that we meant to make everybody laugh actually is harming and making people feel bad.
Hmm.
Um so the again, so to the parents, I know that we mean well and we want our kids to have friends and we don't want our kids to be isolated. We don't want our kids to be socially awkward. We want them to be accepted because we want those things. We wanted those things when we were kids. But understanding that the digital world is cruel.
Hmm. It
Um,
is. It is.
so we're seeing that the although social media was meant to bring us closer together, it's actually making us further apart. Can we even talk about how the algorithms are even uniquely designed to generate more outrage within us as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it is a strategy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma,
Mm-hmm.
and you could see people that used to work in the big tech industry. pretty much spill the beans on what happens and why they purposely will monitor what we're doing, pay attention to what we watch, what we're interested, and they're listening on our conversations, and so they know what to put in front of us. They know exactly what we're going to click on, what our eyes are looking at, what we're engaging with. And so, yeah, it definitely is strategic for sure. And it's kind of scary if you think about it. It's really scary that, you and I can be talking about Toy Story 5, and then also now we're getting, ads about it, or,
Hmm.
because they're listening. It's a scary place. But any video we watch, they're looking what our interests are. And so we're going to keep getting those videos popping up. Everything you
Hmm.
watch, there's a related video to that. So yeah, they're watching, they're listening.
Yeah, I posted this the other day on Facebook that the the stakeholders of Meta, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, is our engagement, how much we engage with it. So they are putting things, to your point, that everything is related. So for me, my algorithm has a lot of basketball, sports,
Yep.
commentary,
Yep.
and I'll get these different groups that I'm not even a part of, or different people that I don't even follow, but it's relative to what I have engaged with or commented on or interacted with. And I'll put on my card, I think Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time. So what ends up happening on my algorithm is that there's a lot of rage bait, uh,
Uh-huh.
to try to put things to have me engage in the comment section, whether it's a clip of someone trying to argue that LeBron is better and this and that. And this is not the podcast that we're going to debate that, but I'm only saying this because it wants me to get angry and begin to go into the comments and begin to argue with total strangers
Yeah.
about, and then it
Yep.
gets into name calling and why you're so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't even know these people.
Yeah.
Why am I getting so worked up? And it's because the social media is designed for your engagement. And the more they can keep you hooked on these apps, the better it is for their stakeholders, which also leads to the second thing, sleep deprivation. So
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is that if we allow our kids to have screens in their bedroom, whether it's their MacBook, iPad, or phone, it's devastating to their sleep. And we know the studies, we've been told growing up that you need your 8 hours. And
Mm-hmm.
studies actually show that teenagers need a minimum of 8, but up to 10 hours of sleep. And what ends up happening is that because these kids are on their phones all night, they're
Yeah.
getting less than 6 hours of sleep, and that sleep loss impairs everything: their mood, their ability to focus, their decision making, their impulse control, and all that bleeds into their academic performance. And this is one of the most clear and correctable problems. These are things that we can do as parents to say, nope, we're not going to do this. And we've talked about this before, right? Right, Jason? Like this idea that we can actually limit their screen time. We can put this phone in a safe box or whatever, all screens, all phones in the kitchen. So what can we do to kind of help with this? And even before we even talk about what we can do, what since you're in the schools, what are you seeing?
Yeah, because one of the questions I do ask students when we talk about social media safety, I ask them, I say, what are some things that you could do to cut back on cell phone usage? And they got some ideas. I mean, they're not dumb. They know what they need to do. Now, are they doing it? That's a different story. But they will say screen time, meaning limit your screen time by going to settings, going to screen time, putting time limits on the apps. They also will say, not have the phone in the bedroom with you. Some of you will even say have your parents control the screen time off using their devices. So they know little hacks. They know little tricks of
Mhm.
the trade in order to them to not be on their phone as much, but they're not, they know, there's a difference between knowing and doing. So
That's right.
that's why parents are key in helping with that. And so don't just trust the kid. They're like, okay, we had a talk. They're going to limit their screen time. Well, that may work for a day or two or a week, but they're going to gravitate back to their old ways. Why? Because of addiction.
Mhm.
So the parents have to come alongside, because obviously their brain is not fully developed. They're not going to make the right decisions always. And so that's why it's accountability. It's helping them, wean out the phone together, and not just handing them a phone and just trusting them to be like, oh, they got this, because those things are so addictive.
Yeah,
So
teenagers are profoundly smart. I remember when
they are.
I went to one of our schools to do a presentation on goal setting. And I began to just ask, like, hey, what are your goals? What are your goals? What are your goals? Okay. Oh, so you want to be a vet. Okay. You're a freshman in high school right now. So if your end game is that you want to be a veterinarian, you want to be a doctor that helps sick animals and help them be well, what do you need to do from now? And then they begin to say, well, I need to have good grades. Okay, so if you're going to have good grades, what do you need to do? Oh, I need to do my homework. Okay, I need to go to bed on time. Okay, so then we begin to like have these smart goals. They're
Yep.
realistic, they're measurable,
Yeah.
tangible, all of that, right?
Right.
And we're what I love about that presentation is that we're doing is asking these diagnostic questions, and we're leading them to say, hey, at the end of the day, your immediate choices also affect your end goal. So a little compromise here, a little compromise there, kind of derails a lot of that. And speaking even on the issue of compromise, right? As parents, we sometimes we give into to our children. We compromise a little. But one of the greatest things I heard about compromise is that just if you have a destination you want to reach, and you're a pilot, you have this route that you're taking. You're going there, and if you stick to the script, if you stick to the directions, if you stick to the lane that you're in, you will meet your destination. But if you're just
Right.
1 degree off,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the further you go, the ramifications, the consequences are even more drastic. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember them saying like, okay, yeah, if you're just 1 degree off and you're supposed to go straight for an hour, but then you're just 1 degree off, if you travel for a half hour, you're only going to be 5 minutes away from your destination.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're traveling from Miami to New York, um, or the ability, if your destination was to travel on an airplane from San Francisco to New York, um 1 degree will leave you somewhere in Baltimore.
Wow.
5 degrees will leave you somewhere in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you're just traveling these 4 hours, but that 1 degree, these couple degrees, get you so far off course that you never reach your destination.
Wow.
And what we do in that goal presentation, that goal setting course, is that we want children, these teenagers, to begin to understand that, hey, listen, what you do today actually matters.
Right.
Like, we want we want our kids, by the time they get to high school, that they have these formed habits, that they become very good students, that they just not learn how to regurgitate facts, but they begin to think critically, because these habits are already been formed in them. And one of those habits is just having a good night's sleep. So a simple rule you alluded to: no phones in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Another one can be no phones when we're having dinner together.
Right.
Having a household charging station in the kitchen. Um, and because the sleep deprivation gets into focus, one of the things you and I were just talking about before hopping on this podcast was attention fragmentation, a distracted generation. So we're talking about these apps are uniquely designed with push notifications, infinite scroll. We doom scroll, that our brains have been trained for short form content, that we can no longer focus on long form content or reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
The ability for deep focus, which is the kind that is needed for meaningful work or study or even relationships, is
Mm-hmm.
becoming rare. So
Right.
why do you think our teenagers can't even sit through a conversation without reaching for their phone?
Yeah. Because again, going back to the addiction, I mean, these things are it's almost it's kind of fidgety, you know? It's
Hmm.
like they're so used to having their phone that when they put it down for just even a short period of time, they're it's like I need my phone, right? Even if they're just unlocking it or just having to feel it, you know, it's got to be in their hands or something. I mean, they cannot part with these phones. They got to always have them. They got to be in their hands. They got to be near them, and that's why it is addicting because they're just not able to live without them, and that's where it becomes a problem. If you can't put your phone away for long periods of time, you can't be without it. That's where the problem lies. So we got to somehow, some way, break the cycle now, so that you know, and have like a balance where they're on their phones, but they're able to disconnect from their phones. And
Hmm.
it's discipline, but it's also I think parents do need to help with that for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about you. What just happened to you this past weekend? Why did you struggle to watch a movie that you
Yeah.
normally enjoy watching?
Yeah, so it was 4th of July. I decided I'm gonna watch Jaws because I was kind of looking at what would be a good 4th of July movie. So, and I've seen Jaws several years ago, but I just sat down and I turned it on, and I just could, you know, even though I wanted to watch it, I just kept getting distracted. I got distracted by my phone. I kept pausing. I'm gonna go get a snack. Like I just, it really took me most of the day to watch a 2-hour movie.
Mm.
And even my wife says something about it. She's like, "You've been watching this movie all day," and it's true. I was, but and when the movie was finally over, she's like, "Did you finish your movie?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, and I said to her, "I'm like, man, I can't sit and watch a 2-hour movie like I used to be able to." And she's like, "It's because of your phone. It's because you're used to watching 30-second reels or TikToks or just short clips. And so now my brain is like trained to only pay attention or attention span just for that short amount of time." And then after a while, I was like, "Okay, that's enough. I can't take anymore." And so it's kind of, it really is sad if you think about it. And I know you and I were talking, you mentioned a technique that can help you overcome that. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so one of the things, and I don't have it with me, but I'll actually show it on my phone on the screen, is you and I we both invested, and I think the word invest is the right word, in this block called Brick.
Uh-huh.
And what it ends up doing is that it blocks all the apps that we want it blocked during certain hours of the day,
Right.
because we need to focus. There's a lot of deep work and research that we do when it even comes to this podcast. So, for example, if I wanted to go on YouTube
Hmm.
on my phone, I
Yeah.
cannot do it. It says YouTube is blocked. And the reason is that, we try to use screen time and we want to block it, but it's pointless if we use the native screen time blocker on the phone if we know the
Right.
password.
Right.
So what this block does is that you treat it like a tap to pay type thing. It's an NFC uh, technology, but because it is an actual brick that you need to tap,
Hmm.
what we do is we leave it in our car. So when we come to work, our phone is blocked from accessing all applications that we deem to be a distraction from the goal that we want to accomplish for the day. So if I really wanted to get on social media or YouTube or access a specific app on my phone, I need to get up and go to my car.
Yep.
But what that is doing is now I'm experiencing discomfort, but I'm also experiencing a level of self-shame because I begin to notice like, man, I am so addicted that if I really want to go on this app right now, I have to get up,
Yep.
walk across the building, go
Hmm.
outside, unlock my door,
Yep.
click this thing just so that I can access this app. No,
Hmm.
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or
Well, yeah. Yeah.
or
Okay. Sorry.
no, or I can just go on the computer. But here's the thing. The reason why it's less appealing on the computer is because the when the developers are developing it for the web as opposed to the app, they intentionally make it more addicting
Yeah.
for the phone. They
Right.
want endless scroll. But when you check YouTube, or even the studies show that when you log in to Instagram or on Facebook from your computer, you're probably only going to be on it for 5 minutes, and then you'll log out because it's not appealing. The bright colors, the screen, it's not as appealing. So there are all these things that we can do to kind of mitigate. And you and I, we just went with the brick. And the reason why it's just been advertised to me on, so again, the algorithm, it's been advertised
Yeah.
to me because towards the end of the year, people begin to start thinking about their New Year's resolution, and
Yes.
I'm beginning to start looking at productivity goals. How can I be focused more? And because I started researching that, I started getting all these uh ads for different ad blocking software or mechanisms. So I went with the brick. I recommend it to you, and now you're using it, and it's
Yes.
helping. But one thing is that we can also brick our. It's not just for work. It's designed for also low. When I get home and I want to spend time with my children,
Yes.
let me brick my phone so that I'm not being pulled away into
Yes.
YouTube or social media, so that I can actually be present as a husband and a father.
Yes.
Um, and we've alluded to this. So we talked about social deprivation, we talked about sleep deprivation, we talked about attention fragmentation, and lastly, we've been sprinkling addiction. But this is like, boom, the basis of all of it. And we don't throw the word addiction just out just to use it as a metaphor, but it's because we're actually addicted to our phones. These apps, these devices are designed for our constant engagement.
Yes.
They want us engaged. And not only that, it's the same psychology or technology that slot machines use. Instagram use it, Vegas does it, and it wants us to be on our devices 24/7.
Hmm.
Um, so we've talked about it. We don't need to beat, kick a horse while it's down, beat a dead horse. But these harms interact and amplify with one another. Less sleep leads to worse emotional regulation, which also leads to more social conflict online, which means to more social media to cope, which also leads to less sleep. It's an ongoing cycle, it is a loop. And we want to help parents see that cycle. We don't want you to just look at individual symptoms. We want you to look at the cycle of dysfunction. We want to look at the root causes so that you can actually do something to set your kids up for success. So we're going to land the plane here. So we talked about no phone in the bedroom. Start that
Yes.
tonight. That's low hanging fruit. You can do that now. Buy a cheap charging station and have it somewhere in the home. And consider, if you have a home office, put that charging station in there, and then lock the door.
Hmm.
Lock that door, and don't have it where you can put your nail or something like a coin that it can unlock with an actual key, and you be the one with the key, because our kids are slick. We know that probably when you go to sleep, if they're that addicted, they may get up out their bed and try to go get their
Yeah.
devices. So add extra safety precautions for the teachers or the youth pastor. Jason, what do you offer? What do you think teachers and schools and youth workers can do
Yeah.
to not have kids not have their devices on them?
Yeah, so I love well, predominantly More to Life speaks at private schools right now, but what I notice is a lot of the students are not allowed to have their phones. A lot of private schools will have these pouches that it's like a thing that hangs on the wall, and they're numbered. So when the student walks in, they put their phone in that pouch, and and so the teacher actually looks to see if their phone is in that pouch. I've been at schools where she looks at him like, okay, where's number 7? And he has it, and he has to walk up to the front and put it in the pouch. So yeah, there's a time and place. They're allowed to have them at lunch or in between classes, but just not during class time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely one thing is, because even if those phones were in their pocket, then they're getting
Mm-hmm.
notifications. They're getting that vibration in their pants, and that jonesing to check that phone. So if they don't even feel that vibration, that's a good thing. So make sure the phones are in those little cubby, little pockets, and that they don't have access to them. It's a good way to go.
Yeah, and for parents of younger teenagers, one of the things that you can do before you hand your kid a smartphone is uh, review the app notification settings together. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Like, make sure that it's turned on whenever text messages, phone calls, and maybe emails. But that's about it. Like, or maybe a certain app. Like for
Yeah.
me, I turn off all notifications, but I recently had to turn on the Bright Wheel app. Bright Wheel is an app, a software that preschools, daycares are now using to communicate with parents. So I have that on because they're constantly giving me updates of how my kids are doing at preschool, letting us know that whether there's some behavioral issues or whether they're napping or whether just, hey mama, hey dad, your kids are doing fine. So
Yeah, those.
essential notifications, because to your point, if the phones are constantly pinging and
Mhm.
it's just going to distract us from the things we need to focus on. Another thing you can do, this is just came to mind, is if the school is bringing homework to uh home for they have assignments that they need to get done at home,
Mhm.
consider taking their phones away from them so that they can focus on doing their homework. So
Yeah,
let's land
those
the plane.
that's good. No, that's good stuff. I actually started with my phone turning off notifications on certain apps
Hmm.
because every time I get that little number one,
Yeah.
I have to check it. It's like I have to open that notification. So now that I've done that, I'm not as apt to no pun intended to open that
Yeah.
app and find out what it is. So turning off notifications on certain apps is very helpful.
Yeah. And so tonight, here's your closing challenge. Uh, ask your student to do a phone audit with you and go
Mm,
through the notifications, go through some of their apps, go through
yeah.
some of their contacts.
Hmm.
It's your phone. You paid for it. I remember growing up, my dad, when I lived with him, had the bedrooms can't be closed policy.
Yeah.
Like, and they can't have locked doors. Like if it's closed, it can't be locked, because I'm entitled as your parent,
Yeah, it's your house.
as your authority figure. I'm entrusted with your well-being.
Mhm,
So the thing about the internet is that it's dangerous,
mhm.
and we want to protect our kids. So look at what they're actually spending time on and ask them how it makes them feel. Um, and also consider getting a brick for your family
Yes.
and bricking your child's phone, um, so that, and then offer with that, because you can delete the app and then it will open all the apps, but then let your teenager understand that if they were to do that, that there will be some consequences. You decide the consequences. You parent your child the way you need them to be, but understand, like, hey, help them understand that there are consequences uh, for their actions, positive or negative. Offer a reward system. Reward your kids when they do well. Do positive reinforcement, but also when they step out of line, take their phone away, take their PS5 or Xbox away, take their computer. Do the things that is necessary for their well-being. So
Yeah.
this is
I
baffled. Yeah, go ahead,
I
Jason.
I'm sorry. I can't speak any more highly about Brick because you're the one that actually turned me on to it. But I was getting the advertisements on Facebook, New Year, Brick, Brick, Brick. I'm like, that sounds like a good product. And then you had one and you were showing me how it works. And so my wife bought me one for my birthday actually.
Hmm.
And so I've been using it and I'm telling you, world of difference. And I will bring it up in presentations
Yeah,
and students don't know anything about it at
yeah,
all. When I bring it up, they're like, "What brick? What is that?" Because it's not being marketed to them; it's being marketed to adults.
yeah.
So that's something the adults are going to have to introduce the students to because they don't know anything about that. It's not showing up on Snapchat or anything. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, if that's the way to go, you're going to have to introduce them to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, family, this is Baffled. This
Yes.
podcast is meant to help you understand your misunderstood teen. If there's going to be a link to our website in the show notes. If you want to reach out to us for more
Hmm.
questions, if you want to invite us out to your school to do presentations, we are here for that.
For
So, if
students
you're
and
watching
parents.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. If you are listening or watching via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you follow us on there as well. My
Yeah.
name is Jonathan.
And I'm Jason.
We'll see you next time.